At some point, a mass movement of material in the descending colon is going to get shuttled into the end point, which is the rectum. All right, so a mass movement, normally the rectum is empty or effectively so, okay? So the rectum is usually just has a small amount of fluid in it. That's because of two things. Number one, the sigmoid flexure is kind of a steep angle. It's hard for material to leak past this. It's almost like a J trap in a sink. So we have the bend, and then we also have a functional sphincter just ahead of the rectum. All of those things together make it so that the rectum is typically empty. Now, at some point, a mass movement is going to fill the rectum with feces. So whatever was in the descending colon and sigmoid colon is going to get moved into the rectum. That's going to cause distension, right? So the rectum is going to get stretched out a little. That distension is going to stimulate the myenteric plexus, like it always does, right? Distension of the GI tract results in contractions from the smooth muscle. So here what we have is a kind of stalemate, right? We have the rectum is contracting because it's full. The internal anal sphincter is inhibited because of the peristalsis. So if we were a baby and our external anal sphincter was not under our control, defecation would occur at that point, right? In the person who is continent of feces, though, the external anal sphincter is a skeletal muscle under conscious control. So mass movements fill the rectum, and the rectum tries to empty. You could think of it like that. In other words, it's pushing down, but if the external sphincter is closed, it can't go anywhere. But that distension will create the sensation of needing to defecate, right? So then if the organism puts themselves in a place where that is a reasonable thing to do, then they can voluntarily relax the external anal sphincter, and the peristalsis continues and empties the rectum, right? So that's the voluntary version. It's pushed against a closed sphincter until the closed sphincter is consciously open, and then it pushes its way out. Now, this reflex is reinforced by the parasympathetic defecation reflex. This is the primary reflex that's controlling defecation in people who are not continent of feces, okay? And it's very simple. When the rectum distends from a mass movement, it empties, right? It contracts and empties. That's what we see in babies. But the difference in adults is we have that external anal sphincter that we can control. All right, so that's the defecation reflex in a nutshell. Now, you can see from the innervation that this is a potential weak spot, right? We need spinal cord, we need afferent nerves, parasympathetic nerves. We got a lot of inputs and outputs, and in the end, we need working skeletal motor neurons and functioning corticobulbar tract in order to make this happen. So folks who have spinal cord damage lose their defecation control, right? Folks who have problems with their parasympathetic nervous system can lose that ability. And then anybody who has significant nerve conduction problems, this is a thing that can happen there too. So the defecation reflex is quite complex, not complex like the swallowing reflex, but it involves the nervous system and is therefore a potential weak spot.